You mentioned cycles, and we talk about growth against value. So talk a little bit about how that shows itself when you're looking at the sustainable investment market.
So I think one thing you can say about sustainable investing is that there's depending on how you want to approach it and what you want and what your preferences are, there could be particular themes or styles that are prevalent in a sustainable portfolio, more prevalent in a sustainable portfolio versus a traditional portfolio, let's talk about traditional portfolios as unconstrained. So there's no, you're not stopping investing in anything. You can basically invest in anything you like, whatever's available in the universe. Whereas within sustainability, you are slightly constrained in terms of what you're investing in. So by reference to that, you will have a slight, or depending on how, again, so coming back, sorry, I'm jumping around here a little bit, but depending on where you are on that preference, you might say that I want a little bit of sustainability, but I'm not too worried about it. But I'd rather be investing in things that aren't creating the problems that, or exacerbating the problems we've got. Or you could be really saying, no, I just want to invest in renewable energy, for example. So there's a range of options there. But I think you will end up with something that's a little bit more style sensitive and thematic, which could be a good thing depending on the cycle you're in, or it may work against you. So I think about it in terms of headwinds and tailwinds. There are times when a sustainable portfolio is going to have tailwinds attached to it, and there are times when a sustainable portfolio is going to have headwinds attached to it, and they might be different on a different cycle to a traditional portfolio.
Yeah.
So there is going to be that.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And what I took away from that is you still need to be in it. Like if you're never in the cycle, you'll never be in an upcycle or a headwind. Do you know what I mean? You've got nothing to show for it. So you should be in it. And as we say, it's not all or nothing. It's a certain amount of a portfolio, say 10% or whatever, to start. Let's talk about the elephant in the room, which is when we talk about sustainable investing, people sort of think it's a bit of a dirty word, don't they? They're a bit like, oh. Like that can be the thing that happens. And that comes across from, I think, performance and cost tends to be the two big things that I know that my advisors will shout at me, oh, it's this, it's that. Has that become a convenient excuse now to avoid a conversation, do you think?
I think it's, I think that's slightly lazy.
Well, what I said, no.
No, I've just sort of paused because I'm thinking there's going to be a lot of people now that are thinking.
I know that's why I wanted to bring it up, because it's what we hear all the time, and you do feel a little bit like, oh, if you say sustainable, people sort of give you a look.
Yeah.
There's a look about it,
So I think that just saying cost is the issue or performance is a little bit of a lazy pushback.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that it depends on the journey that you want to go on. As an investor, if I want to travel the fastest way to get to my end financial goal, there's a way to do that your advisor can to put you on a path to do that. But if I I have a sustainable preference, there's another way to travel, and I might be accepting of the fact that that's different to the most efficient, fastest way to get a financial return. So I think it's a much bigger picture than just it's too expensive or the performance is different or not as good, because it's not. It may not be not as good. It's different.
Yeah. And that's the key, isn't it? It's different. It's not as good. And as you say, I suppose, and it's an odd one because nowadays we're very happy to pay more for a product that we've been told is sustainable. It's not being, clothes are coming out of China. It's not, all of those things we're really conscious of and actively pay more to not be in that. And yet somehow when it comes to the investing side, we sort of go, oh, it's cost, which sort of plays against everything that we do in our normal lives. So I think you're right. I think it is a bit lazy. I think it's a bit of a cop out. The other thing that comes out a lot, isn't it, is, well, it's the political narrative that goes around it. What do you think about that? Because obviously this year has been a doozy on the political scale for sustainable.
Yeah, the whole political thing adds to the friction around sustainability, and it's become a bit of a football. I'm not going to sort of express a view in terms of the politics around it,
I
but
really want you to.
I think what I look at is you've got governments saying one thing.
Mm-hmm.
So there are different levels. You've got the government level, which influences things like macroeconomics and taxation. You've got, or specifically taxation and things and regulation. You've got what corporates are thinking and what they're doing. And then you've got us individuals and how we behave. And if I look at what's happened in the recent past, in certain areas, you've got very influential politicians and leaders of powerful countries having a view on sustainability.
We all know who you're talking about,
Gavin. And making certain, taking away things that have been introduced or introducing things to make life difficult around this whole sustainability piece. But then you've got corporates who are playing lip service to that. So having to take away certain statements that they may have made to comply or to not put themselves above the parapet to attract negative attention. But actually within those corporations, the things that they've done to make themselves more sustainable are not being changed. So policies, approaches, long-term commitments around changes within their business, the operations within their business have not been unwound. And that's because they've either worked out that actually it makes good commercial sense to do these things, or it's too expensive to now unwind it again. And again, from a commercial perspective, it wouldn't make a lot of sense. And maybe they're thinking, actually, the whole thing, from a governmental perspective, could change again in another couple of years if there's a change of leadership or whatever. So what I'm seeing is actually, even though there's a load of noise politically, the reality of the corporate world is not a lot is changing of substance. There may be some superficial changes, but materially there's not a lot changing. And then there's us at the bottom of the pile. How are we behaving? How are we changing? And I don't think, like, going back to that point around sustainability and how much of a profile it has on the high street, etc., that says to me that we're not changing in terms of our approach. I don't think we've suddenly thought sustainability is a whole load of nonsense and we've had the wool pulled over our eyes and we don't believe it anymore. I think that we still are aware of, the challenges we face in the world. And it may be that we just don't know what the answers are yet. And it is a big ask, right? There are some big challenges out there, and it's going to be expensive, and it's going to be stuff we're going to have to get our head around, and we have to work this all out. But we're kind of a little bit more educated around it. So I'm not saying that any of this is easy. I'm really not saying it's easy, but I do believe it matters to a lot of people. And so we should be talking about it. We should be able to debate it without falling out and getting political.
No, I completely agree. And I think that the lay of the land is moving. And I think it's interesting what you said about the political landscape, because people do use that as well. Well, this has happened and, America, and this is what, and then we spoke about what has gone on in China recently and how that winds are changing there as well. So I think it's another thing that people use as an excuse, or people use as a reason not to talk about it. And they just sort of make a sort of glib statement about something and just think, well, that'll do. I've covered myself now. What would you give what's the one sort of piece of advice that you would give an advisor then if they wanted to start having conversations about sustainability with their clients? What would you say to them? What's the key Gavin Francis says?
I think you'll be more relevant to your broader client base if you're prepared to at least have a conversation or start a conversation to understand whether or not it may be a preference, or just introducing some of the areas we've talked about that reflect or signpost people to how sustainability might be relevant, to the broader macro picture, or even the sort of micro aspects of their day, like a cup of coffee. It's got to be. I think advisors will find that they get fulfillment from talking to someone who they perhaps didn't think would have an inkling or any element of interest around this area, and they suddenly discover that actually that person's really passionate about this particular area. So even if it doesn't lead to someone wanting to invest sustainably, but they know something more about that person, like, it might lead to them understanding that that person's particularly supporting a particular charity or some element or aspect of their life that they're really passionate about that they just never knew about, but the advisor didn't know about before. It just deepens the relationship. So if you know more about someone, because sustainability is something that's a passion, it's not just a sort of practical thing. So you're getting to really understand a client. And I think that's quite satisfying as an advisor, because advisors tend to be people, don't they? So they want to know, they like getting on with people. So that should be something. You get to know your client better.
Yeah. So it's about having the conversation. It's not about all or nothing. You can start the process, and it's about knowing your client realistically.
Knowing your client and being relevant to that client.
Yeah.
Being current and relevant, because none of us want to be seen as irrelevant. So you've got to have an understanding of sustainability to be relevant now, I think. And also, of course, if you're fortunate enough to be dealing with clients coming through or the next generation, so your clients are passing wealth on and you gain a new client because you're then dealing with the next generation, that's growing your client bank, and they may be very interested in this area as well. So it's got to be a topic that people are comfortable just opening up a conversation about. It doesn't have to be entirely technical, but it's just relevant to the current things we're talking about today.